welcome to D10tion, where we pretend to know what we're talking about when it comes to D&D. I am your host, Tristan, derailing the party at any chance he can. To my left, we have main plot Brandon, and to my right, we have Sam, who takes us on side quests. God damn it, why are we doing other side quests? Is this a dungeon? Why is this a dungeon? There's so many goblins in this dungeon! Is that a bone dragon? Why are we here? Oh,
we're looking for a cat!
So yeah, that's a thing because, well, we're talking about campaign building again, and all of those things are kind of elements of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be discussing as far as campaign building. We're talking about main plot progression, side quests, and kind of improving for, when your party decides to derail things.
When your party decides to rip the flesh off somebody, or party decides to nat 20 on something that...
We'll call it the player element of storytelling.
Yes.
That's a good point.
So, again, as we talk about campaign building, this is something where I'm always upfront about this. I am not a DM. I have very little experience.
Oh,
as far as that.
Fine.
I know. I'm here as more of asking
questions.
questions.
Throw him to the wolves. Throw him to...
I'm here as playing that more of a role of asking questions, and I'm trying to understand things and to maybe put things in layman's terms.
And tell us how you derail our situations.
Right. Or, just put things in terms with people like me with low intelligence stats to understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what should we start with? Should we talk about main plot progression, seeing how that's going to be the biggest thing that you'll be doing in a campaign?
Can't have a side quest without a main quest.
Sure you can.
Sure you can.
No, then make it the main quest.
It's that side quest of
It's like for after you beat the main game, but there's still a whole bunch of other quests available.
Okay, that means there was a main
No,
quest.
trying to 100%
it's the beginning of a
game,
JRPG where you find a cat, and then you have to go fight a god.
That's technically the main quest, though.
Is it? Is the cat involved with the main plot, or is it?
Anyway, we are getting derailed from this conversation.
Told you. Okay, so yes, let's talk about main plot progression. So, as you know, as the viewers know, Brand, you are the DM for Bards and Nobles campaign, which has been going on for quite some time. And Sam, you are a DM in many different ways, including the one-shots we've played on stream, as well as you run your own campaign off-screen for some of
DM.
DM.
Donkey.
Accurate.
So yeah.
When building and thinking about your main quest, thinking about what we've done before, thinking about the world you're in, your party, your
story
you're trying to tell, within the story and the world and the party you have and the encounters and the enemies you want to fight, should be a little bit of cohesion. Mm-hmm. There should be something that links them all together, and that in the barest form is your main plot. Mm-hmm. Is the main thing that's linking everything and moving forward. Now, that's pretty basic, so to elevate that, think about it on a rising scale. You don't want your main plot to just plateau and just be like, yep, we're doing this forever now. You want things that rise and build tension and keep tension and then fall and then rise and build. You're trying to constantly make a plot and make something that is interesting for you to tell and interesting for your players to be in. You want a payoff. You want that constant rise, and it doesn't have to be a huge payoff fall. It can be tiny things, which is where side quests come in, where you can do tinier little bits that give people a break in the rising tension. But your overall goal should be to have a paramount conflict, a paramount action that's going to happen with your players' involvement, not to your players, because that's not really fun for them. With your players' involvement, that gives them a sense of, this is what we've been working for. This is everything. This is our goal coming to fruition. This is everything we've been working for, however long your sessions or however long your campaign is. This is what we're going for. This is slaying God in a JRPG. This is finding the root of a curse for an entire civilization and getting rid of it. This is fighting a demon lord that is your dad.
So yeah, it really just comes down to what Again, it's just picking your story and then trying to figure out the best way to do it.
And there are many different ways to do it.
Right. So let's start with Sam. How do you feel main plot progression should work for a party, or You know what I'm trying to say. Words.
Words and stuff and things and letters and acronyms and such.
How to best get your players to continue the main plot and how that should progress.
I am still a young DM, but I find that sometimes it can be hard not to fall into this railroading thing.
Choo choo! All aboard the train!
Which is like, let's say that this straight line is your main plot, and something like this over here is just a shiny distraction. And you want your players to go like this, but they want to go like this. Let them. Honestly, in my opinion, if they want to sit here and go to shiny object and check out shiny object, fine. Make shiny object interesting. Give shiny object purpose. Make it good. Make it bad. And then, once shiny object is over, nudge them back on.
Have that reroute.
Now, this is where because I've seen this meme and it's hilarious to me because I'm sure it happens when, as a DM, you go, okay, party, you have 2 towns in front of you, pick one of them to go to. It's the same town, no matter which way they go.
And, I mean, that's kind of a good point, and, you know.
It depends. The meme is true for some senses, but if you already have a fleshed out world like we talked about last time where things already exist, it doesn't have to be. But if, let's say, you're thinking like, oh, you built up the village of Chrysanthemum Tears. I don't know, it just came with that name. So you built this whole thing up, and then they go to the other one. If they have no idea what
is in Sludge Pond as opposed to what is in Chrysanthemum Tears,
you can just eat your bump.
Yeah.
As long as you didn't do specifics for the one town, and you made it vague but intriguing enough, put in the other one they go to, because then you have time while they're in that town to make the other one better.
Yeah, as you have that ability as a DM, like you don't have to feel so much that you have to force it, but as the DM, you can sit here and go like, oh, well, this was going to happen in town A, but they're going to town B. Let's just move town A to town B.
And you can,
or even if it's a small section, like, or like the towns are dramatically different, but maybe the bar in one town was what something was going to happen in, so you just swap.
Pick the plot up from here and push it over there.
Right. Unless you really want to give them the ability to go to a different town and do a side mission. Mm-hmm. So now I'm a little more brutal. If you're on a time crunch from the main quest and your parent party's like, shiny over there, the main quest is that train's gonna keep on going.
Right.
And they're gonna bring catch
that
up.
Yeah, that was gonna be the point that I was about to bring up, was like, because I know especially with you, well, in our discussions of building a campaign, you're very much of the mindset of everything functions in real time consistently, and you're very adamant about that.
There are consequences.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is...
And that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, as far as a player, and as we've talked about on the show with campaign building, that is very much your style. Things happen regardless. Whether it's this country or another country, like in a lot of ways, you plan the whole world functioning at one time, so that if a party goes, we're going to go do this over here, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, cool, but your window for this is just closed, and now you're screwed out of that position.
Yeah, things like that. Well... that helps also with main plot, since we're not totally talking about side quest stuff. Main plot progression. If, let's say, you give the party a time frame, or give an allusion to a time frame of the dark ritual will happen at this will happen soon, and they go
the vernal equinox of the third.
They'll go doop-a-doop-a-doop, and they push it off. That vernal equinox is not going to just be like, wait, what? What? Okay, they're here. Go! Like, that's not how that works.
So what it comes down to is that you can do the railroading technique for if you have to.
There's a way around that, though.
Right. Well, I'm just saying it's one option.
Yeah.
If your party is being absolutely, oblivious to things, there is the option to railroad them and saying, in giving them that part, like say they're arrested, the only way to pay off that debt is to go to the town that you need them to go to, or you have a main villain send an army after them and you defeat them. It's like, where are they coming from? Where you need them to be.
Yeah,
from.
like you can do that, or don't. If you are working with a group of players and you know that the shinies are the most important thing, they like the main quest. The main quest is cool, but those shinies that may or may not exist are what they're interested in. Don't give a timetable. Mm-hmm. Give allusions to things happening, but don't give them solid time. Because then it lets you, as the DM, play around with everything. So you can say that there is a Dark Lord gathering forces. Now, it could be the start of the gathering, it could be the middle of the gathering, it could be the end of the gathering, depending on when they get there. All they know is that things are gathering. And so when they start heading towards that, and you feel as if they're heading more into your main plot, you can give them more information. Like, okay, you spent this long, this much. I don't want to be over. I don't want to be punishing that you want to do the side quest. So they have 3/4 of their army intact.
Right.
So then they can go, okay, we're this close. They have 3/4. They now know, okay, we can go now and fight 3/4, or we can do another side quest and fight the whole thing.
Right.
That lets them get, more choice in their actions, while you as the DM still have the main plot be a threat. Because if they hear about these person making the army and they're level 5 and they head there now, well, that lets you adjust the difficulty of whatever. If this is your main quest, then maybe don't let them do that. But if this builds into a larger main quest, which is perfectly fine, that's that rise and fall and then re-rise, you can make it so the encounter or the thing with the bit that's big bad isn't as powerful because he's just starting. So using something like that allows you to scale your objective with your party. Unless you want to give them, like with you guys in Bards and Nobles, Titavilis is a thing. You guys know very well that he is a demon lord. He rules a layer. He has a whole army. He's this thing, and you guys know, like, we're not going to go at level 5 and beat this guy up.
We really
Right.
want to, but we shouldn't.
Well, I was going to say, like, a lot of it comes down to the story again you're trying to tell. If it's an imminent threat, yes, you really need to find a way to progress them or figure out a way to pace that progression. Versus, like, let's say that your campaign is to overthrow a leader who's not doing, like, he's not, like, building an army or anything. He's just in control.
He's just a tyrannical guy who's a jerk.
And your ultimate goal is to overthrow him. There's no imminent threat, so it's much more of that mindset of almost something like Skyrim or something, where you can take your time and do side quests and finish small things too. Like, let's say you're building an army, that only goes as fast as you progress the story.
Correct.
Whereas the ultimate goal is still off to the side, waiting. And granted, there's going to be times where that changes around, but something like, again, the story that you're trying to tell it can help determine the pace that needs to be done versus what your party has to do.
And that type of thing leads into side quests.
But before we get there, I want to put an asterisk on all of this. It also depends on what kind of campaign you're running.
Yes.
Very true.
Because if you're running a one-shot or a short campaign...
Don't do this.
You want to keep them on track as much as possible.
That train is an expressway, and they're on it, and they can't get off it.
But
Right.
if you're running a long-form campaign like Brandon and I are running, they can take their time and dilly-dally a little bit.
Yeah,
It's
I
fine.
mean, because especially when you talk about things like one-shots and stuff like that, this is where, again, it also depends on the kind of DM that you are.
Usually with a one-shot, it's like, there's your thing.
Well, what I mean as far as that goes is if you're a DM and you've made it very clear that during this one-shot, if you guys don't stay focused, you guys could easily just die. Or even a full campaign. Like, if you're like, guys, you have to focus here. Like, if you're in a one-shot, you're dropping that one-shot, and there's, like, this vague thing, and the whole party just starts veering off. And you're like, guys, that was just kind of a thing. Screw it. Yeah, it's a giant monster. You guys are screwed.
Like, there were one-shots with the longer form campaign Rise and Fall. There is no multiple. You can do a spike
Right.
and then plateau, but in a one-shot, you never really want to regress the rise of tension, because if you do that, you're slowing down the pace. Because think about in a movie where or anything where it's like the pace is picking up, like the tension's rising, the tension's rising, the tension's rising, and then it just stops for a second. All that momentum that was just built is like screeched to a stop.
Yeah.
And so that can kind of kill your one-shot or your mini campaign. So,
But going back to side quests can be a great way to maybe change things up a little bit. For example, with your campaign, we were doing a lot of demon fighting and a lot of demon hunting and demons.
We were under
demons,
a lot
demons,
of stress.
which I love. I'm cool, but it can be a little redundant at some point to just constantly be focused on that one thing.
Or just stressful.
Or just
Because we've
stressful.
discussed where you like to have us pretty tense for a while, and after a certain point, it was like, boy, we are getting so tense right now. Like, we need... Like, it's like, even like after we had finished a plot point, it was like, yes, accomplished. Like, what? More stress. And you're like, crap, come on.
But in retrospect, when that was over, and you had that time where nothing stressful was happening, wasn't that just like cathartic to be like, we crushed it?
It depends on the moment.
We'll talk about that later. Anyway, side quests.
I was going to be honest with you, but apparently.
Side quests can be really nice because they give you sort of that like little break, and they're little like fun little side things that you can do. They can be a bit more relaxed or a bit more even intense sometimes than the actual plot itself. It really shouldn't be, but it can.
Or goofy.
Yeah, or goofy, silly.
I mean, this is why you do
sometimes
side quests.
you can use side quests as a way to tie into the main plot point, or you can use side quests as a way to divert from the main plot point. Like, let's say that, maybe as the DM, like, you yourself need to figure out some things, like maybe the characters have done something really out there, have derailed your campaign, and you need things to fix it. Oh, here's a lovely side plot. It gives me plenty of time to work on this thing. Like,
right. I mean, they can also be used to better equip your party for the main plot. Right. I mean, the things I always think of are things like, Skyrim and Fallout and stuff like that, where they're very easy to do side quests. There's hundreds of side quests to do stuff. I mean, even as far as, like, the Batman games and stuff like that, where you do all these side missions. Some of them are goofy, some of them are fun, some of them are more technical based, some of them are just battles and stuff like that. But in the end, you might be picking up items that are, you might find a magical item that will help you in the end. Because part of being a DM is making these magical items. You're like, ooh, I hope they pick this up one day. Or, like, we'll see if they really want that one item that they said they wanted that one day. Like, oh, you said you wanted that one specific thing? It's in this dungeon that's over here. Let's see how bad you really want it.
And you can make side quests important. You can make side quests useless. Like, you can make it...
Deliver this letter to my husband over in the other town, please. He'll pay you handsomely.
If they want, they can. Or you can make a side quest, like, something that if they don't do, but they know about it, you can have it come back and bite them.
Yeah.
You can
or it just affects the world. Not necessarily even bite them. It's like, oh, fix this one problem. And then you don't fix it, and then all of a sudden there's another town that would have been there originally is now burned to the ground because you didn't solve something. And it's like, what happened? I was like, oh, yeah, such and such. It's like, oh, man, we were supposed to fix that, weren't we?
Yeah. Well, and, like, kind of because of that reason, you can, like I said, have side quests tie into a more overarching situation. Like, let's say that your main plot point is to kill a demon lord, but maybe there's a side quest that deals with, I don't know, a baby kraken. And, maybe you didn't take care of that baby kraken, it kind of escaped, and then you forget about it for a while, and, you keep working your way towards killing that demon lord, but you gotta cross this ocean, and suddenly that baby kraken is a big-ass kraken, and he is pissed, and he wants to murder you.
Remember that time you cut off my arm? What up?
I mean, you can kind of have it become a bigger problem. Right. Or you can even make it tie into your overarch. Maybe the Kraken strikes to deal with a demon. I don't know, like, whatever.
Or it's something that it may not necessarily even... It may feel less of a side quest, but may help you. For example, let's say your overall arc is to fight this demon lord. Maybe his henchman is living off in this town over here who reports directly to him. And killing him would loosen the grip a bit on it to give you some more leeway.
Or maybe it's like a side quest.
It's a diagonal quest.
Or maybe there's a secret magic item to help you kill the demon lord hidden inside the kraken.
I mean, this is where I imagine as a DM, side quests are really just other things that you want to do in that world. And again, when I talk about things like Skyrim and Fallout and Batman and stuff like this, some of these are just fun things for you as a DM. Like, man, I really want to have my party interact with this. Well, here's a side quest that has that involved if they ever decide to come across it. If you're like, you know what, if they really were dumb enough to go through this, they'd get this item. Well, guess what? They're dumb enough to do this. Well, I guess I have to give them this item.
Like, side quests are a great way to, and one, if you need time, great. Your players need time for the main plot, great. Do you want to incentivize them to get magical items when they want them? Great. There's something they want to do? Great. There's something that you want them to do, but you want them to not feel like you're railroading? Open up that side quest, and if they go for it, you can link it back to the main quest.
Right.
You can have it support them. You can have it make, let's say they rescue a town, and the town goes, you're now our mayors. This is your home base. Whatever you need, we're going to do it. So then they make a structured home base out of this side quest that they wouldn't have had. Things like that. Whatever you want to do.
Under attack.
Whatever you want to do with the side quest, go for it. As long as and this is my personal, if they're going on side quests and you let them, do not punish them overly for doing that. After the first side quest, and they realize you let them know, hey, the main quest continued and now it's harder. And they continue to do side quests because something like they're not interested.
They're just so used to Skyrim.
Like things like that. Don't overly punish them because it's their game too.
True.
So talk to them about it. They'll
Make
talk-
your intentions clear as a DM as well for those kind of things. Like, let them know, like, hey, you guys have a deadline. Like, even if you just warn them once or twice, like that's where you can decide. And again, this is where, as a player, you find the DM that's right for you. If you're happy with a DM that warns you twice and goes, all right, guys, trial by fire now. You're on your own. I'm not doing anything else. If you're fine with that, great. If you need a little bit more, something like, hey, I'm not quite comfortable with that. I would like something with less time. I just want to play and enjoy myself. I don't want to be stressed out. I'm looking for this to be more long term, and like just for stuff to do.
Like I think that's a good point though. Like if your bad guy was amassing an army of 20,000 men, like let's say he's amassing a 20,000 man strong army, right? Don't all of a sudden make that 20,000 50,000 because they decided to take side quests.
If their goal is 20,000, and their players know it's 20,000, it's 20,000.
Now,
when they hit that,
it might be like 20,000 and one.
This is where if you're as a DM, if you start putting specifics, you can write yourself into a corner.
Yeah, you can.
Like for example, like sometimes if you have a strict map and you're like, this is the map, this is the only map of the world. You're like, okay, everything has to fit to that specifically. You don't give yourself a whole lot of room to tweak things. Or if you have a timeline, like this is going to happen on the equinox, and you're keeping track of the days as a DM. Because we all know that there's going to be at least one player that's doing that. Like, if you're like, it happens on the lunar equinox, you're like, okay, cool. You're going to have one player go, how long is that from now? And they're going to start ticking away the days. And if you get to that point where, like, okay, it's the lunar equinox, and as a DM, you're like, oh, crap, you're right. All die.
But then it's kind of on you as the DM because it's one of those things that it's like, okay, if you created your world to keep going no matter what the players do, and they miss their deadline, and now your Lich Lord has 20,000 dudes in his army.
Good luck, players.
And a Demon Lord. I mean, then their quest has changed from stop him from
Survive.
amassing an army to either survival or find a way to defeat him. So it's one of those things where you can adapt the campaign to sort of adjust to that.
And if you're worried about the time and they're not going to keep it and they want to keep doing side quests, what is stopping you from turning that side quest into a main plot point?
Yeah.
or just having, and again, if you're just looking for an excuse to do side quests for a campaign, just the tales of a traveling party in a world. Maybe you don't have even that ultimate goal. Maybe you're just having a couple friends come over. You're being a DM and you are playing Dungeons and Dragons.
You're sandboxing it.
Yes, exactly. You could and that is an option.
Yeah, there are a lot of campaigns that are actually run that way. That they're run, you can have the same characters, but they're run story from story between sessions as opposed to on a whole overarching.
Yeah, right. And this is where because we've talked about story, we've talked about major plot points. These are just things. As always, all of this is just suggestions for if you're looking to become a DM or build a campaign. The sandbox option is a brilliant option if you're just looking. If you're struggling with a long story point, just go. Hey, do you guys just want to live in this world? Be a traveling group who just goes town to town and finds missions.
And through that, more often than not, a main plot will arise from their natural actions, from what they're doing, what they did do, what they didn't do, what they killed, what they didn't kill.
Yes.
You will, as a DM and as players, they will most likely be like, oh, we didn't kill that guy. I really hope he doesn't come back. And you go, guess who's going to come back now, guys?
Right.
Like, you can, if you want to sandbox it, go for it. It's just, that's a lot more prep work because you need to have the sandbox filled with things. Yeah. You can't be like, there's a shovel and one bucket. You need to fill the sandbox with a bunch of stuff, but you can have it be as open and be like, okay, you want to go on a quest, not even a side quest at this point. You want to go on a quest to do this, and they fail. They don't die. They just fail. Well, now you have either the end of that or something to come back to, and it can grow.
Yeah. So the bottom line with side quests, I think we'll come to a point with this one is side quests are probably your most versatile tool in your arsenal. Because it can be used for main plot, it can be used for diagonal, it can be made as a complete side quest, it could be loot fest, it could be item fest, it could be just a goofy fun thing that makes no sense. Like you go into a dungeon that's much more of a sewer, and you run into 4 turtles who are living amongst themselves alone.
Monks, can't say monks.
and that's all it is that you've been told the story. You just go down and you're like, oh, it's 4 turtles.
Who's training you? Oh, a master, a were-rat.
Just and that's all it is. It's just like, oh, so did we get anything out of it? It's like, no, this was just a fun story, and you might run into a time where players are like, oh.
We
is
can
hilarious.
use those guys.
Right, like it's just another point of your overarching story.
Yep.
Now, all of that comes down to the players.
It's meaningless if a player does something.
Yes. So this is where we're going to kind of briefly talk about players that derail. And I think the biggest one that I want to start with, the one that you're going to run into, the biggest one that's been memed to death is the murder hobos. And by that is going to be a term that you...
I feel personally attacked.
You have not been a murder
None
hobo.
of us have
I
played
know.
murder hobos.
Because
I'm saying I feel personally attacked.
Yeah, none of you have been murder hobos in this campaign.
No.
Probably because I also warned you if you're a murder hobo, you're going to pay
Right.
for it.
So let's clarify what a murder hobo is. Sam, since you feel personally attacked, why don't you tell us what you think a murder hobo is?
So a murder hobo is basically a player who
Or party.
party, whatever,
Individuals.
who don't necessarily play nice with the NPCs. They steal things that they shouldn't steal. They kick
Murder.
puppies. They kill people. You know, they take what they want, give nothing back.
Brandon Lutz, how the hell are you? I'm running for your local
Brandon
election.
Lutz, how the hell
I
are
hold
you?
300 gold on me at this moment right
Stab.
now.
It's you know, and
It's like walking into a town in a
if
video
you,
game
it's
and
it's
murdering
like
everyone.
they're not outright being like, yes, we want to play an evil party campaign, but instead they're playing an evil party campaign.
And then try to justify
And
it.
they're trying to justify it.
Well, we needed that money so we could pay to this to do this. Like
He looked at me funny.
You could have done things differently. Like that guy could have been a secret assassin, but he wasn't.
He was rude to me.
It's in some ways it can be funny and it can be, you know, something that can be fun to an aspect, but
It gets old.
trying to run a whole campaign with a group of murder hobos just you're gonna have
Yep.
a bad time.
Yeah, I mean, because I think there's a drastic difference when you see people play murder hobos in things like video games, like you said, quick saving.
Yeah.
Because that's a story, first off, that someone like at your table hasn't sat down and spent hours of work and time and effort creating for a group of his or her friends to play, and just to have them kind of, you know, for lack of better terms, shit all over it.
Yep.
Yeah.
To like you build up this NPC who's supposed to be a regal monarch who can be an asset to the players, and then they're being murder hobery.
You
and
just
they
have a rogue assassin who's like, I don't like royalty. Stab.
or not to kill the king. They find the king's jester. And they're like, ha, this would be great. No one cares about you. And then they kill the person.
I hate puns.
And then the king goes, I heard you killed my jester. Weird. Like,
Right.
consequences. So, murder hobo parties can derail things because you want this king to be a regal, like, I'm here to give you aid and guidance and give you a place to stay. And then they
Right.
kill somebody because the jester made fun of them. And it's like, no reasonable person
Yes.
would be like, if you killed Tristan, I would be like, yeah, let's still work together. I'd be like,
Oh, really? You wouldn't?
man, your head is not going to be attached to your shoulders anymore, bud. You're a murderer.
Yeah. So yeah, the murder hobo is the most commonly talked about, I would say, when it comes to players derailing, well, everything.
Yeah, there's also chaotic stupid.
Okay, so we'll move on to chaotic stupid.
Yeah, murder hobos, in my opinion, I don't know about yours, or yours since you haven't DM'd, murder hobos, in my opinion, get punished.
Yes.
Because murder hobos are dumb and stupid, and if you want to be a murder hobo,
Especially
play
if
Skyrim.
you, and I agree with you, not so much from a sense of punishing players for their behavior, but more of a sense of you're in a world where consequences happen.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Like,
This is a
it's-
role-playing game. You are playing characters.
Yeah.
If you expect your characters to be interacting with other fleshed-out characters...
But if your characters go around killing people, you bet your butt they're going to have a whole shit ton of guards.
You better
on their
hope they can
asses
actually kill those people,
yeah,
too.
Exactly.
Any one person who survives, so let's say you kill a random, you just burn down a tavern. Well, in that tavern was a bar wench, and the bar wench is actually the wife of a paladin who's out on trial with, or out on a quest with his 50 best friends, and then his 50 best friend goes.
Or his level 20 group of 4.
And
Or
it's just
maybe
like,
the level 5 party, tries to kill a level 20.
they don't know.
They don't know.
Right,
You know,
like,
it could
I
just be
run
like
the-
an elderly old man. Well, turns out he's an open hand
warlock.
monk or a warlock.
Or a wizard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can kind of use that to your advantage as a DM to be like, no.
And that,
this is where I think murder hobos kind of play into like
the chaotic stupid.
Stupid.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely chaotic, stupid. We probably should've-
Now, I think every player who has played a chaotic character falls into the chaotic stupid category at least once or 7 times in their
So
Well,
chaotic
because-
stupid doesn't mean like being anywhere on the chaotic or neutral spectrum. That's not what we're saying.
No.
Chaotic
No.
stupid is its own thing. Here's the spectrum, like evil, neutral, good.
Right.
There's that, and then chaotic stupid is like
It's its own little. But I think that it does happen because a lot of people have this idea of what is chaotic, what is the chaotic on the alignment scale, and they're like, well, chaotic means that I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want and fuck everyone else.
Hi, I'm the king. Here's my crown.
Oh man, I'm gonna take that crown.
You did that right in front of me and my 200 best friends.
But
Yeah.
I'm sneaky. I turned invisible.
My
Right.
crown is floating.
This is where, like, with chaotic neutral, you do what you want while preserving yourself.
You have an intelligence. You're not dumb.
Yeah, I mean, even with a negative intelligence modifier,
still
you
have
to be
it-
like, I want to live. I might do something stupid in a little
there
bit,
are
but
some things that PCs do sometimes that you're like, why?
Now,
Or like, what?
Now, I'm not going to name names, just hypothetically. If an individual is having some sort of medical trauma and an individual on the party decides to do a complex medical procedure, which they have no training in, that is on the line of chaotic stupid because there are people who can do those things. Why would you attempt to when you're in a town? Now, there is that is on the a more nice scale of chaotic stupid because you're trying to do a good. You're trying to do a good.
Right, well,
it's
it
just
should
your
be
method
noted-
does not match.
it should be noted that every player at one point or another will do something chaotic stupid.
because it seems right
you
in the
try
moment where
things
they're
out. Yeah, I mean,
or they just didn't think it through all the way, or and
Right.
there's be times where your whole party pulls a chaotic stupid.
yes.
that's when you as the DM go.
And I've done something wrong.
You just you go. All right. Do I punish everyone equally, or who did the most during this stupid?
right.
Yeah. Now it should be noted that sometimes there are going to be things. There are certain degrees of chaotic stupid.
Like I said, doing the medical procedure is lesser because you're trying to do something good. It's
Right.
just you are not trained. While stealing the king's crown right off his head in the middle of a coronation ceremony.
Or maybe like running up to the BBE and just like hitting them in the face with your fist when you're like a measly level 3 character.
That's chaotic stupid.
That's
Right.
pretty stupid.
Or you're playing a spellcaster. You're a wizard, and you're like, I'm gonna run to the front line of battle. Why? Because that's what my character would do.
I'm going to
Is
cast
it?
Fireball in the middle of my party because one dude's there. That's on the chaotic spectrum, like, stupid. Because unless everyone has evasion, you're going to hurt somebody. No, not thinking things through or thinking that because it's a game, you have ultimate freedom. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work like that.
Right. This is where the amount of times that you have players making chaotic, stupid decisions starts to lead them towards the murder hobo spectrum.
Because those decisions will lead them to act. Let's say they get caught doing something stupid. Well, I have no witnesses. I now have to kill everyone. Murder hobo.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe just one person depending on your alignment.
Like and then those are like the two classic derailments. But there are also smaller things that can derail, like
Nat 20s.
Nat 20s can derail depending
Nat
on what's
ones.
going on. Nat 1s can derail. Now, this also goes with thinking on the fly and thinking about how to not
Yes,
be
and
derailed.
that was what I was going to come down to. This is talking about the very much more of the improv portion of being a DM.
Well, let's say there's a magical item someone's attuned to, and someone tries to dispel a curse or dispel magic on them, and they deattune the person because the attunement that's how it worked. Things like that derail.
Yes.
But that wasn't something that they did stupid. They were doing one thing, but they
Right.
overcorrected.
Just something that just kind of happens.
yeah, this is where like
Which
there's that
happens.
spectrum. There's like the murder hobos, the slightly more chaotic stupid, mid chaotic stupid, light chaotic stupid, and then just decisions made that have different effects.
Or percentile.
Yes.
Like where you're rolling to see if a deity will come and interact, or seeing if you can roll to have this thing happen and the percentile's on your side. Those things can derail because everything that you had just thought, the plot progression in the DM's brain is now like, wait, we're over here now.
Right. This is where when we talk about like derailing and stuff like that, this is where as a DM it really helps to have everything really fleshed out in your mind already. This is for example, we've talked about this before with Sorn when we went back to the Goliath encampment, and Sorn did something to derail things by putting his Yikwa with the rest of the swords.
I had set every clan lead put their sword down in the dirt, so they notes and they signified they were there. And then someone was like, well, I'm my own. And then everyone was like...
Brandon was like, crap, hold on, didn't plan for that. And then it was switching to improv mode, but this is where you had fleshed out enough of that certain scenario of what's going on right there. As a DM, you're like, okay, I can improv how this would work.
And improv skills get better the more you play D&D.
Yes.
Don't, because that was a major plot thing. That wasn't like a tiny improv. You don't have to do things like that. You don't have to improv an entire new plot.
No. But, player derailment can be anything from minor to more major. So if, as a DM, if you're looking to work on prepping yourself for derailment, I would recommend going in and making sure that you flesh things out as well as you can, as well as you can think of.
You got to know your NPCs and your setting well enough to know how the environment and the people
and,
in it
a lot of it just reflects down to real reactions. Like, if you're in a town, let's say it's just some throwaway town that you made that your party has just come across looking for supplies or,
Cornville.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, now they've made a decision here. How would normal people react if you get caught shoplifting? If you got caught, you started a bar fight, or you murdered someone?
Is there a way to stop the party? Is there a way someone's going to send to stop the party? Is there a way that they things like that?
Do they cower in fear, but they just send out wanted posters to the next closest thing, next closest town, going, "Hey, you have more resources than we do. Maybe it's the town they're heading to." But now all of a sudden the party gets there, and there's wanted posters for them for the crimes that they did for
the other town. And like I said, that's big derailment. There's small derailment where it's kind of like a funny derailment, like haha. Like someone hypothetically jumping over a wall and not checking what's on the other side and crushing a horse.
Yes.
Winifred.
It was me.
I'm not using names.
I will admit my mistakes.
Have you ever derailed? I'm trying to think if you've ever...
I'm sure I have.
The stealing of Poe's medallion.
Oh, that's right. You did.
I am darn sure I have.
Oh, that's right. You didn't just derail. You blew up the former train, and you guys had to switch tracks.
Like I said, everybody makes stupid decisions, or not even stupid decisions, but things that you're like, oh yeah, this seems like a good idea, not a good idea.
There are always going to be things where, because when we've metagamed or talked outside of our sessions, there's been plenty of times where Brandon or Sam has both kind of been like, why'd you do that? And you're like, you can explain it, but like, okay, that makes sense. But that wasn't what I was hoping you would do.
Sometimes, even though as a DM it can be a bit more work, sometimes derailed moments can be some of the best moments. Because some of my favorite moments are seeing Brandon's face go, we're going to take a quick break.
Yeah, those are going to happen a lot. And if you're not doing what we're doing and putting everything out for people to see in real time, take breaks. It's okay to take a 5-10 minute break whenever you need.
Yeah.
Don't let the players be like, no, I want to see what happens now. Take a break.
You're in charge. Yeah. You're the DM.
This is as a DM, this is your story that you're... Well, okay, it's the group story, but you are leading the story. You are telling it. So if you need to take 5 minutes to sit there and panic and come up with something, take 5 minutes to do that. Like, there's no rule saying the DM cannot take breaks.
No, the DM literally...
The DM is in charge.
The Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master Guide, it says the rules exist, but the DM has the final say in game and rules. So that means the Dungeon Master, if they need 5 minutes, you give them 5 minutes because there's nothing you can really do about it.
Right.
Either you're going to sit there in 5 minutes and stare at the DM while they think, or you're going to take 5 minutes to go get some snacks, go walk around, stretch your legs, and do something. So there's a bunch of ways you can handle derailments. You can take breaks. You can be improv heavy on the fly. You can heavily punish the players and be like, well, welcome back to the campaign. You've lost a car, but you're still on the rails.
You can use distractions.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe somebody throws a rail in your campaign, and you had, maybe an event, maybe something comes and terrorizes a town that you were going to have happen in 2 nights. Well, hey, guess what? It's happening right now. Like, give yourself time to,
Yeah, so I think it all comes down to, with first off, any of this, but especially with this part, with the improv and the derailment, everything you have to plan for comes down to the human element. This is not a video game where everything's really set.
Where there's no dialogue tree.
It's not AI. It's all very, very set. This is where your interaction could go in no way similar to the way that it would make any sense, and you have to be prepared for that. Not even necessarily have a plan for it. You just have to be prepared for that to happen.
Prepare for best, middle road, bad. That's the easiest way to break it down, and there's degrees within that. And if you think about a piece or an NPC as a living, breathing thing, and you can plan that better, then it's a lot easier for you to handle. Let's say they roll for persuasion and they tank it. Well, you need to plan for success, a 10 or a 1. And then if anything between that, you can have them go, not really, or maybe if we sweeten the deal, or things like
right.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't tank it, but you don't do well. They're like, I appreciate you trying, but no.
No, and that's valid. You don't have to work within the one being terrible. One can just be like, that dialogue tree is closed, so move on. So,
Right.
but there are many different ways to handle it. If you guys want, we can have a whole thing where we just, you guys send us, like, what if scenarios, and we will respond as DM player, and we will happily go into those more thought exercises and let you know what's up.
Because I'm sure every DM handles things differently.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
sure you could throw the same problem with the same characters at me and Brandon, and we would have 2 different responses.
Right. I mean, or even just another DM, because like it could be something as simple as something like punishment, kind of punishment. And maybe another DM's like, well, they just made that choice and it doesn't matter.
And the other DM's like, okay, great, cool. Here you go. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of just as a quick recap. Main plot depends on the main plot that you're trying to tell. There are a number of ways that you can keep them on track, or the consequences of them not staying on track. Side plots are your most versatile tool, whether it's for main plot or for fun or loot. We'll always talk about loot on another episode because that's a whole other.
That's a whole thing, man. We'll talk about Magic Items, homebrew stuff all the time.
Right, and with derailment, or as we'll more affectionately call it, the player element of everything. That is something that you have to prepare for or prep for in your mind before you can prep for it on paper and actual things. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up before?
not right now.
I think.
Don't kill random people just for fun. Okay.
That's bad.
Thanks, Desi. I appreciate the anti-murder hobo. Yes, that's the big one. Don't be a murder hobo. And detention dismissed.